everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400, and of course the Brown Skin Human, coming back at you in another video. And this time, this is my intro, this is my second intro to my series of Disney Channel sitcom, Disney Channel sitcom reviews, the late 2010s edition, the late 2010s sitcoms. There will be another intro video for the retro Disney Channel sitcoms, but this is the late 2010s right here, the late 2010s sitcoms, particularly Sydney to the Max, Cooper and Cammy Ask the World, Gabby Durant and the Incredibles, and Raven's Home. And I'm thinking about including Bunked, the newest season, the three, seasons 3 and 4 of Bunked, seasons 3 and 4 of Bunked, and the newest Disney Channel sitcom, Just Roll with It. Just Roll with It. These right here, these are remakes. These are webcam remakes of my narration reviews where I go more in depth, talk more in depth about the actors, the actresses, and the sitcoms, the narration reviews, which those will be in the description box below for people who want to see those. See those. Those were just short. Those were just short reviews giving my thoughts on these awesome series. This is me talking about these series after watching multiple episodes and in their seasons in their entirety. So with that being said, let's get started right right now. We can do what we want if we put our minds to it. Time for my review of the very first Disney Channel sitcom I saw, new era sitcom I saw, and that of course is Sydney to the Max. Sydney to the Max, starring Ruth Rehe, Ruth Rehe as the main protagonist, Sydney, Jackson Dollier, and Ian Kessler as the kid and adult versions of Max Reynolds, the secondary and other protagonists of the show. Girl Meets World star Ava Coker stars as Olive Rozolski. Olive Rozolski, um, Rozolski, Christian J. Simon, who I think was Darwin, voiced the character Darwin on the Amazing World of Gumball cartoon series on Cartoon Network, plays the role of Leo Webb, and Caroline Ray, the actress I immediately recognize and remember the most and recognize the most, portrays um Judy Reynolds, the mother of Max Reynolds and grandmother of um Sydney Sydney Reynolds. I think her name is Julie Garcia, portrays the character of Emmy Mendoza. Emmy Mendoza. Amarillo Ray portrays their other character, Sophia, Sophia, and Brogan Hall portrays the other Leo's friend and Max's friend and enemy, um, um, Bucky, and I keep forgetting the actor, the Indian actor who portrays the other character, Pete, their other friend and seen in the '90s portion of the show with Maxwell Reynolds and Leo and Leo. So yeah, he got an awesome cast of characters, and just like with Cooper and Cammy as the world. This was the first new era sitcom I saw. Like I said, I didn't have cable. Well, I still had cable. I didn't have internet access. I didn't have internet access, but I still had cable. So I finally decided after pretty much 4 to 5 years of not watching Disney Channel. I stopped watching Disney Channel in 2016. I came back briefly in 2017 for Andy Mack and Raven's Home, but those two shows weren't enough to keep me interested for a long time. So I quickly left again and didn't come back until 2020. 2020, I first saw Sitting to the Max during season 2 in June of 2020, and I instantly became a fan of this show. Instantly became a fan of this show, and just like with Cooper and Cammy Asked the World, this was the first one. I was surprised by the level of acting, the quality of acting, storytelling, seriousness, adult issues, and writing in a Disney Channel sitcom. Yeah, this is still a cheesy Disney Channel sitcom, but Disney Channel sitcoms and shows are starting to become much better. Now I don't know what it was, but the late 2010s, and it all started with Andy Mack and Raven's Home. Raven's Home are tackling more serious issues and becoming more serious and more like the good old days, the late '90s and early 2000s, and the sitcoms of the past, like Full House, Saved by the Bell, and Fresh Prince, and those type of sitcoms, The Cosby Show, these awesome retro sitcoms, those shows, Boy Meets World, Family Matters, those awesome retro shows. That's what these new era shows are reminding me of. In contrast to the crappy, cheesy sitcoms from the early 2010s, like Jesse, um, Shake It Up, and what's another show? Ant Farm. These atrocious shows from the early 2010s, which those shows have only been off the air for like 5 to 6 years, and they have already aged poorly. They've already aged terribly. Those shows are everything terrible about the 2010s, about the 2010s. So I was surprised by the quality of acting, storytelling, writing, and everything. And this show had the coolest concept for a sitcom I've ever seen since Disney Channel's Sunny with a Chance. You had Sunny with a Chance, which features actors on a comedy show tackling their real life behind the scenes, tackling their real life on behind the scenes. Well, this cool show right here has Sydney Reynolds and Max Reynolds, um, father and daughter, taking on similar problems in 2 different decades. Sydney in 2020, and Max Reynolds in the '90s in the quote unquote in the quote unquote in the quote unquote 90s, and then Sydney goes through problems, and then the adult Max has to remember back when he was a kid. It flashes back to when he was a kid and how he handled these. You see how he handled these problems in the 90s, and how he handles versus how he handles them in the 2020s. In the 2020s, now that of course he's adult, just like this sitcom. Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, pretty much in the present, it follows Sydney Reynolds. It follows Sydney Reynolds, her friend Olive Rizolsky, her friend Olive Rizolsky, adult Max, Judy, and sometimes her other two friends, Emmy, Emmy and Sophia in 2020. Then it flashes back to the past with young Jackson Dollinger, young Max, and his best friend Leo, who in the present day lives in San Francisco. The setting of the show in both the 90s and 2000 in the 2000 in the late 2000 in 2000 2019 and 20, of course, is Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon. Leo Webb, young Judy Reynolds. So they do a good job of making Caroline Ray look much younger in the 90s portion of the in the 90s portion of the show, and who else? And other characters like Pete, Brogan Hall, and who for the first time, Sydney's mother, who is deceased in the present day, but she appears for the first time. She appears via flashbacks and appears for the first time in the season finale, 13 Candles. 13 13 Candles, where we learn that was was Sydney's mom was Leo's cousin. So yeah, really awesome sitcom. The sitcom is a cross between Full and Fuller House, Disney Channel's Good Luck Charlie, because the show takes place out in like the countryside. It looks like it's in like out in the countryside, just like Good Luck Charlie. Um, the Disney Channel sitcoms of the 2000s, like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. In those shows, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Ravens, the Raven, the That's So Raven franchise. Raven Simone even served as a director and a writer on one of the episodes. Um, Girl and Boy Meets World, which Ava Coker starred on. It has the same way humor as that Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which Caroline Ray starred on in the 90s and 2000s. And what else about this show? And yeah, like Fuller House. I mentioned it, like Full and Fuller House. It features a single parent raising a kid. Except this single parent brought in his mother to help raise his mother to help raise Sydney's. Yeah. So yeah, whenever I think of single parent, a single widow parent raising kids, Full and Fuller House is the shows that come to mind. So as you can see, yeah, and with Fuller House ending, these sitcoms, Sydney to the Max, Cooper and Cammy World, Gabby Durante and Citadel's and Raven's Home became my new sitcoms, became my new situation comedies. Most people would just write these off as cheesy new sitcoms, but they're awesome, which is the only problem I have with these sitcoms. Disney Channel, they don't feature these new sitcoms I just mentioned. Well, Raven's Home gets featured a lot, but the other three I just mentioned, City to the Max, Cooper and Cammy World, which that show is in danger of cancellation, and Gabby Durante and Citables. They don't. These shows are extremely popular shows, and they're newly premiering shows, and they're not featured on the network. Instead, we gotta make way for crappy reruns of Jessie, the worst show of all time, and Bunked, which should have ended a long time ago. I like Bunk, like I've said in plenty of videos and reviews now. I love Bunked now. The newer seasons and newer actors and actresses, they're much better. But that's a show that should have ended years ago. Years ago. We're gonna review and rant and talk about Bunk later. But yeah, this is Sydney to the Max. Sydney to the quote unquote Max. What a phenomenal show. Um, what a phenomenal show this was. Season one of the show was okay, a good start, but it was season two that hooked me, and I'm glad I started during season two. Season two was so much better. The actors and actresses are so much better. Watching shows about watching sitcoms about watching sitcoms about children and kids especially are usually terrible because the kids are usually terrible actors. I could barely socialize at that age, let alone act, let alone act, let alone act. Shows about teenagers and adults are much better. Are much better. Then you have so yeah, one of the greatest sitcoms around. And then when you're having a bad day, these sitcoms are the perfect thing to watch. Are the perfect shows to um family friendly shows to watch. And like I said, these sitcoms are set in nowadays. They were so retro. They were so retro. They were so retro. Even though they're obviously set nowadays because of the technology and phones we see in these sitcoms. But yeah, Sydney to the Sydney to the Max, one of the greatest sitcoms, one of the greatest sitcoms ever, and it returns later on this month, March 29th, I think, of this month. It releases later on this month. The sitcom returns for season three. Yeah. So yeah. Get ready for season one and three. Reviews of season one and two are coming next. Get ready. Hey everybody, it's time for part two part two, season one review of Sydney to the Max. Sydney to the Max, like I've said in plenty of videos and plenty of reviews of Sydney to the Max, season one, in my opinion, season one of Sydney to the Max was inferior to season two. But season one had a lot of great episodes and was still a good start to the series. The first problem I have, especially in the first couple of episodes, is Sydney, the main actors, Sydney portrayed by Ruth Rehe and Olive portrayed by Ava Coker. Ava Coker are kid actors, and shows about kid actors, shows about kids are usually terrible. This was actually pretty good, and these kid actors are pretty talented, but there's still a lot of overacting when actors and actresses get older, become teenagers, they become better actors and actresses, and plots and storylines become better because they mature, as we see towards the end of this season. I also did not like. Well, actually, the season finale is one of my all-time favorite episodes because I can relate to it. I did not like the season. I did not like the season finale of this show. I liked the episode, but I didn't like the season finale and the place of the episode, especially the B90s plot involving Max, which I'm gonna get to. This is just be a short overview. In the background, one of my favorite episodes from season one, one of my favorite and best episodes is Misadventures in Babysitting. That will be playing in the background. So with that being said, let's get started right now.
Now look mysterious. Great. Now hungry.
This
Like
was
it.
a phenomenal
Love it.
episode of Sydney to
Now
the Max.
confused.
I
How are
mean,
you
the
confused?
first episode we're going to talk about is the Parent Trap, where
We're
the
out of
pizza,
film.
where
Run
the
out of money.
goofy pizza
Me too.
delivery
I
man
already spent all
Iggy,
my
who is
allowance.
dim-witted and not too bright,
Wait.
he makes his first
Today's the
appearance.
first Monday of the
When I
month.
saw this character,
Allowance day. We're saved.
when I saw
Save
this
that face.
character on
I
Sydney
want
to
to
the
get
Max,
later.
I thought it was Jason Earls, Jackson Stewart from Hannah Montana, and
Dad, I'm so
and
glad
Rudy,
you're home.
Sensei Rudy from Kicking It. I thought it was him
Want that
returning to
allowance
Disney Channel.
electronically or cash?
Jason Earls did return to Disney Channel, but not on this show. He returned on Just Roll With It. Anyway,
Not so fast. Don't you owe me for those jeans you bought
anyway,
yesterday?
Who's
anyway,
that far back?
anyway,
Did you guys
anyway,
pay for a photo app that makes you look
the
like a
plot to
pirate?
this episode has Sydney and Olive want to go to a
Dad, you
16
left me
Oranges
$3.
concert by
What can I
themselves.
buy with that?
Max forbids them to let them go
yesterday.
unsupervised. So what they do,
My allowance isn't cutting it.
so So
you're
what?
right. So why don't you say
So
now for
Sydney
announcing mine, and
decides,
we'll do the old
Sydney in
Peter
anger and
thing.
protest
That's cool.
decides to
Well,
have
Sydney,
the
when I was your age, I had
to
a
have
job.
the concert at Olive's place. At Olive's place. Listen to the concert at Olive's
Oh,
place.
hi guys. Hope I'm not
Max
interrupting,
doesn't trust
but
her and
Noodles, you
sets
left
up a
this in my
phone
car?
out to
I
track
think there's an
Sydney's
important
phone.
assignment on
Sydney
page
learns that
20.
Max is tracking her, so
You
Sydney
need to ask.
decides to
You're
get back at him
sneaking
by
for
sneaking into the
$20.
concert.
Mom,
By sneaking to
I'm
the
trying to teach
concert.
Sydney
They
some
sneak to
personal
the concert, but
responsibility.
Sydney
You
feels
respect
guilty,
that.
so she
You're right.
sneaks.
I
So
do.
she sneaks out. So she sneaks out and comes back home and nearly gets away with it until she feels
Your
guilty and
dad's
reveals
right.
that she
We
went to
need
the
jobs.
concert.
Well, what about elimination?
They reconcile and agree to
Once
trust
you
each
lose
other
your
from now
homework,
on, and
it
he
turns
won't ever
against
track
you.
Sydney's phone again. But this
You hit
time.
10 and the party's
But
over.
then it ends in hilarious fashion with Max telling
Hey, how about
Sydney,
babysitting?
all right, now we
Great
need to
idea.
talk about
Then
your
we've got
punishment.
a-
And Sydney
there's
says,
two
but
of
this
us.
was going
That's
so
right.
well.
Double
And
the
then Sydney's
fun.
like, I
Twice
understand. I deserve to
where
be
I'm rolling
grounded.
with this
Max is
girl.
like, oh
Who
no,
is
I have
this baby
something much worse.
What
And
should they
then
call herself?
Max goes off
Pop
laughing.
entertainer?
And his punishment is taking Sydney
Banana
Olive
nanny?
back
Not
to
there yet. Not
the
even
16
close.
Oranges concert and doing the wave with the other ducks to the embarrassment of Sydney. And then even posts it so everyone knows they're there. And Olive ends it with saying, what? Post? In the B plot, young Maxwell and Rio get beat first. Judy gets Max a beeper, but Judy forces Max to beep her and call her every time so she knows he's okay. Max, since he has a beeper, decides to sneak into an R-rated theater where he meets a guy named Gerald, who's played by the kid with glasses from Shake It Up and that Nick at Night show with Jerry Trainer. Anyway, they sneak in, they bribe him and sneak in, and they nearly get away with it until Judy eavesdrop on him and catches them in the theater. And takes the beeper from Max and grounds him from 24 to life and tells Leo's parents. She says they almost got away with it until Max says, you know how important my job is, and that's how the 90s portion ends of that episode.
I think this is yours.
Then we go to the misadventures of babysitting. I love this episode. Firstly, this episode reminds me of the Full House episode of season 1, Adventures in Babysitting, where Sydney and where DJ and Kimmy have to babysit a kid who foolishly gets his head stuck between two rails. They have to call Danny to get him out. There's a reference to
I'm going
Ninja
out
Turtles,
Saturday
the
night,
80s
so I
and
called that
90s
sitter you
Ninja
like,
Turtles
Marla?
television
I
series.
hate Marla. She makes me clean my room
Ninja
and go to
Turtle
bed on
series.
time.
Then,
Oh, that's right.
what
I
else?
like her.
What else? And then also, the title is taken from the
I don't need a
movie
babysitter
Misadventures in
anymore.
Babysitting
I'm a
of the
man.
same name, the 80s film. There's also a
Why? Because
2016
you no
Disney
longer have
Channel
to sit on
remake.
the pony
I
chair
want to
when you
watch
get a
both
haircut?
movies now.
And
After
other
seeing,
man things.
after seeing this
Come on,
episode, I
Mom.
want to watch both
Think of all
movies.
the money
I
you'll
want to
save
watch
if you
both
don't have to
movies.
pay a sitter.
I want to watch both movies
To
now.
cancel Marla.
Anyway, in this episode,
Congratulations.
Sydney and Olive
You're
are
a
fed
man.
up with their petty allowance.
Bet I
So they
am.
decide
I'll also
to come up
cancel
with
the
jobs and
gardener.
decide to
From
start
now
a
on, you're mowing the
babysitting
lawn.
babysitting service. A babysitting service.
Can't
They
believe my
get a
baby's
job
babysitting.
babysitting at
Okay,
their
girl boss
crushes,
is ready to roll?
James Thompson,
Got a
Josh
secret
Thompson,
babysitter
Zach
lesson.
Thompson's house,
Fun.
Zach Thompson's house, but
Puppets,
they gotta
space
decide.
balloons. What
They
about the
gotta
googly
decide,
eyes?
do they want to babysit Zach Thompson's kid
Couldn't find
brother
them. I even put on
Dylan,
these glasses to
Dylan
look.
and get the money, or
I still don't
do
see why I
they
can't
want to
take you
ditch
guys.
Dylan?
Because
Do they
you're
want to
so
ditch
nervous
Dylan and
about
hang
me
out with their crush Zach
I
and
don't
his
want to
cool
repeat of last
friends?
time.
Again,
Both
I
of
have
them-
the binoculars
both of
because
them-
I just happened to be
Both of
bird
them at
watching in
first do
front
the
of the
wrong,
house.
start off doing the right thing, but the allure of Zach,
Grandma, help.
the
Don't worry,
allure
girls.
of
You
Zach
watch your kid,
Little
I'll
Zach
watch
and his cool
mine.
friends tipped him, but then this ends when Max, for
Okay,
some odd
boys,
reason, comes
I
there and
rented you a
crashes
bunch
all,
of
pretends to
movies,
be
and
part of
you
the
have the
neighborhood
number
watch
of my
committee,
new
and
mobile
crashes
phone.
all party, crashes all party,
You got
and
me tiny.
crashes
I
all
did.
party, and
Now remember,
Sid
I'm
and
trusting you
Sid,
without
Sid
a sitter.
and Olive
If you mess
decide.
up, I will
Sid-
make you regret the day you were
Sid-
born.
Sid and Olive then decide to do the right thing and kick Zach's friends out. They kick Zach's friends out, and Zach joins them and kicks them out, and they go hang out with his kid brother, who wraps them in aluminum foil and spray cans stuff on top of them.
Not really.
Spray can stuff on top of them. And they succeed and they get paid. Meanwhile, in the B plot, which really wasn't that exciting, Max and Leo get to stay home. Max wants to stay home without a babysitter. So in order to prove to his mom he has Leo over, he proves he can stay home by himself.
Let's watch it.
He can stay home by himself. His mom leaves
Are
home a
you
movie.
kidding?
his mom
My
was on
cousin fainted
a
in
movie,
that
a
movie.
kung fu movie, but it
And
turns
he's a
out the
way
wrong
bigger.
movie is in there. Instead, a horror movie is in there. They
I
take
got an idea.
turns watching
Start
movie and
and the
decide.
first person to say stop tape loses.
And
You're
it
wrong.
just said, in the first, like you heard in the background, the first
And
one
no
to say
hiding
stop
behind
tape
hands,
loses,
pillows, or blankets.
loses, and
Oh,
and,
man.
and no
What
no
the
hiding
freak?
behind hands and pillows. Well, anyway, Leo gets scared and immediately runs home, leaving Max all alone. So Max technically wins, but Max gets scared and goes to his room and gets captured. Anyways, his mom gets back and sees that Max took care of him. But Max agrees that he needs a babysitter and gets scared and runs up to his room, and that's how that plot is. So
I happen to be
yeah.
playing on PTA and
Then
a
you
lot of
got
people need a break from their kids. Oh, they
then you got the next episode. This episode wasn't as good, but it's one of the more interesting episodes. As bad as she gets, because we get to see adult Leo in the present day, 2020, where it's revealed that he now lives in San Francisco and runs his own dance app company, something like that. Something like that.
Alright.
Something like that. He gets to run his own dance app. He
Good night, sweetie.
runs
Let's meet
dance
her.
app company. He comes back to
So,
Portland
Dylan,
with his new
are you ready
son,
for the best
Leo
babysitting
Jr.
experience of your
Leo
life?
Jr.
Yay!
Leo Jr. Where him and Sydney play. Where him and Sydney where him and Sydney immediately bond. But it turns out Leo plans to move back to Portland to the disagreement and anger and dismay of Leo Jr. So Sydney and Leo come up with a plan to get the fathers to fight each other, and it works. But they make the fathers remember their friendship, and Leo Senior says he can't move here anyway because of a certain problem I don't remember. The B plot was even more disinteresting, with Leo going to a private school and Max tries to get him to fail his audition, but he passes anyway. But he never gets to attend a private school because it burns down anyway. Anyway, the whole point of this episode was to show that no matter what, they will always be best friends.
My buddy Flake told me, so I'm
This
gonna
was
be
an
chilling
okay
here.
episode. It really wasn't that good. I wish they would have got a much better episode to debut the adult Leo in. But it was good to see adult Leo back, and that's why I talked about it, despite how dull and uninteresting the episode was. Then you had two dance episodes, one nothing but a dance thing, and another one called Dancing La Vida Loca, which I don't remember which one, but one of them has a hilarious poop joke from
Why doesn't he be
Grandma Judy, where Max supposedly setting cow poop, and it was apparently a long sneaky ride home. Anyway, the next one involved what was the next plot?
Cry for me, unicorn, cry.
What was the next plot?
I'll just think about Zach walking in on us.
What was the next plot? What was the next plot?
I meant that one apple
What
juice.
was the next plot?
Oh, well, why don't you say
what
so?
was the
One
next
apple juice
episode?
coming
Oh
right
yeah,
up. And make it
oh yeah,
quick.
Caved and Confused.
Let's not push it,
This
Dylan.
really wasn't that good of an episode either, but it featured the first appearance of Emmy and Sophia, and the second appearance of the Don character from episode 2, the dog catcher from episode 2, and the reappearance of Iggy from episode 3, where him and Max talked about their meeting at the theater in this quote unquote episode was dull and interesting. It featured Sydney wanting to watch a brand new movie or show with her friends, but also in the same night she turns out she made plans with her dad. You know the drill. She watches it with her friends, but then she realizes she wants to spend time with her dad. Yeah, another dull episode, but it was cool seeing the first appearance of Emmy and Sophia in this episode, and the next episode, Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the best episodes of the series, where a 2020s character, Sydney and Olive, meet a dream sequence, meet 1992 Max and Leo, the first time a 2020 meets 1992 characters. Sydney gets embarrassed at school when during her PowerPoint history presentation of her kissing her giraffe appears on camera, and she goes and she flees the school embarrassed and vows never to return again, and accidentally falls asleep watching videos of Max and Leo. Then it flashes back to 1992, and she wishes her friend Olive was there, and they meet up with Leo and Max. Max is trying to Captain Danger stunt and falls into a bucket fall
have a
into a
babysitter until I really
wet
am a
bathroom
man.
cleaning bucket.
Sorry. I
Wet
gotta go
bathroom
call my
cleaning
dad.
bucket and flees the scene in embarrassment and vows to never
Change your
return to
mind?
school again.
No.
Anyway,
Walking to the phone?
and then he makes a dumb idea to move to California,
You'd never think
which
a
he thinks
tiger
is just
and a
3
carrot can
blocks
be
down
But
from
it
where
gets
he
to go slow.
stays.
You know?
And at first
That
they
is
try to enlist the
so
help of
deep.
Leo to help him. Leo at first tries to help
You
him, but
wouldn't
then
expect that
Leo,
from someone
since he
who
can't
spends so
talk him
much
out,
time with their
decides
head
to
in the
join
water.
him. Decides to join him.
People
So
underestimate
it's here
me.
where Sydney and Oliverville, they're from the
Hey, this
future,
is my
which Leo
favorite.
doesn't believe,
The
but
monkey
Max
barked
eventually
himself
believes,
out
and they
of a
prove it
tree.
by talking about various
now
things
you
that will
are
happen in the future,
so
and then only things only Max knows, and even lying a little bit, saying Max will be a
Hi, Max.
millionaire
I'm Olive.
and
We
will
met
not live
earlier.
with his mom,
Sure,
even though neither
I
of those
remember.
are true.
Really?
Neither of those
Yeah.
are true.
You were a
And
pig and she was a cow.
and
He's
Max
so
then tries to stun again. He fails
Did he
again,
hit you
and this
for
time,
a
but this
sec?
time he picks himself up, dusts himself off, and continues going, and they both happily part ways.
Sydney, you left me all
And
alone with
the
Dylan.
episode
What
ends
happened
with
to
Sydney
two
waking up
for
in the
one
present,
and twice
returning
the
to
fun?
school,
So
and
far it's
facing
been
the
one
danger
for
head on,
one
where
and
Olive
done the
stands
fun.
up for her, and it ends.
You're right,
And the
you're
episode
right.
ends there.
Got
One of the best
distracted by
episodes
that.
ever. I hope they do this
And I'm not
again
gonna
for
make
the
any
future
excuses.
seasons, and season
But it was
3,
the
which is airing
hair.
right now.
And the eyes.
And
Mostly the hair.
then you have season 4. Then you have season. Then you have the final
All of the
episode.
kisses that way.
The final
Really?
episode, the
First
worst
time it's been a
episode,
while
the
about
season finale. How Sydney and her friends got her phones
Let's
back.
make a pact. From now on,
Friends
neither
back.
of
I
us
hate this
try to hang
episode
with
because
that
no
guy.
one in this episode
What
was
do you
in the
call
right,
Candace
in my
Liv?
opinion. No
He's so
one. You have
cute.
Sydney and Olive who get
Adorable.
caught,
But we're not gonna hang with him.
who
No.
have their phones on during Mr. Tanaka's history class, and it's here where Mr. Tanaka confiscates Sophia's phone, confiscates their
Whoa.
phones,
So does
and
that
introduces
equal
a
friends?
brand
With
new
Mia
a
and
brand new
Hudson
phone,
and
a
Whitney?
brand new phone
Whitney's an
ban policy,
influencer.
which
She's
Vice
the
Principal
reason I'm
Mine,
wearing
who was
this
already in the
lip
class,
I don't
introduced
even
and
like
said
it,
it was the
but I'm
idea of
under her
Sophia's mother,
influence.
Angela
Wait,
of the
Max wants
PTA.
absolutely
So
no friends.
Sydney tries to
I think
enlist
we
the
gotta
help of
ask them to
Max,
leave.
who is
I
also
think
part
we
of the
do.
PTA, to come in and
Listen,
speak on the
I know
kids'
my mom
behalf.
probably said
Max
no
starts
friends,
to
but
agree
you
with him,
guys
but
are
when
cool,
Angela
right?
makes a great point about
Well,
phones
actually,
providing
yeah.
distractions,
Hey, I'm not a
Max
friend.
is forced to support the phone ban rule. So Sydney blackmails him by taking away his favorite chips.
I can't
Max
believe
tries to
8 years
respond by
after
giving him
saying
some
Olive,
by
we're
giving
on
her
the
a
brink of
gar-
coolness.
v- garlic
I'm excited
garlic
too, but I'm
garlic
not showing
be-
it because
garlic
it's being
beverage,
cool.
garlic vegetable beverage, and
But we have to do a good
and
job
then
with Dylan too.
after
No reason we
multiple
can't do
torture,
both.
Max
Right.
decides to give
Max sent your
Sydney and
face
his
to babysitter.
give Sydney and her friends the chance to speak on their behalf, and Sydney comes with a plan to have all the
Hey,
kids text
Jill.
the adults
Hi,
and
buddy.
confiscate
Where
their
have you been?
phones and
Coming up
force
with a new
them
game we can all play?
to
It's called,
lift the phone ban
wait,
phone ban.
that's
The B
not-
plot was
how do
even
we
worse,
play?
with Max getting his
Good question.
skateboard confiscated by
Olive, why
Vice
don't you tell
Principal Romani when he accuses him of riding it on school campus when Max was just riding it to
First,
school
you're gonna
so
do
it wouldn't
some
get
light
stolen.
stretching.
So it wouldn't get stolen. So it wouldn't get stolen.
And
And
Sydney will
Max
play the
and
rest.
Leo then come with a plan. Max at first tries to tell his mom. His mom doesn't believe
Well,
him, which
you're
gives
the
Max the
space
idea to
astronaut.
steal
Yeah,
the
and I'm
skateboard.
your space
Max tries to steal
You
the
took the
skateboard.
words right out of my
Max
mouth.
tries to steal the skateboard,
But hot. Force
but
field.
his mom then reconsiders and comes and picks up the skateboard.
There's no
After the
space.
episode is over,
That's right.
his mom
Now
takes
we're
the
gonna go
skateboard and confiscates
downstairs
it and
and
grounds him
what
for
do
2
we call it?
months.
Shut down
2 months for
force field?
sneaking into his
You've played
office.
this
Now,
game before.
Max sneaking into his office was wrong, but you should have backed him up
All right,
and
Mom,
listened to him
learned
the
my
first
lesson.
time.
I'm
And
not
I have a
gonna
huge
call
problem
Sydney. Now,
with
where'd you hide my
parents
phone?
not being there for their
Not
kids
telling
and not listening
You
to
are
their
so
kids.
immature.
I also,
Let's
this
play
is
the
why,
hot
this is
cold
one of the
game.
reasons I really don't get along with my parents for similar incidents like this.
Oh.
Incidents like this. And
Warm?
yeah, I like this.
Warmer?
I like this
You're
episode because I
burning
can relate to it, and because
I knew it.
Mr. Tanaka, Angela, and Mr. Tanaka, Angela, and Sophia are present in this episode.
Really,
The
Mom?
supporting characters
This
are
is
just
why
as
we have
exciting as
trust
the main
issues.
characters. So
And then
that's
Christine
why
trips and her
and Vice
toes
Principal
fly right into
Romani,
Amber's
the principal,
backpack.
is an awesome. He's an awesome antagonist. He's an awesome, hilarious antagonist.
You know her?
Antagonist.
Yeah, everyone knows
Um,
Christine. She's got the hair.
That's why I like this episode. I love Vice Principal
Hey,
Romani. He's an awesome
let's play a
antagonist,
game.
harassing
I
the
know,
Reynolds
two
in
truths
both
and a lie.
the past
You guys
and
know
present
how to play, right?
decades. So
Do we know how to play?
yeah, that is season 1. A terrible finale
I
to
don't.
end season 1, but
That
an
is
awesome
so
start to an awesome
awesome.
show. Season 2 was vastly superior.
I can't
So
believe
get
we're
ready.
playing a game with them. We are so.
All right. now it's time for my quick, short overview and review of season 2 of Sydney to the Max. This season right here was a vast improvement over season 1, and this season is where I enter the Sydney to the Max franchise. The first episodes I saw were My Best Friends ending, What's My Grade Again, and Slurping with the Enemy. Then I got to see the rest of season 2 during season 2 and season 1 during reruns of the show, during quote unquote reruns of the show, and of course I've been a huge fan ever since. Favorite episodes include episode 4, Night Not at the Museum. 6, Girls to Women, one of the more notable episodes because it tackles a period. It tackles a female's period. It tackles those issues. That issue. 7, Baby One More. Mrs. Harris Opus, the field trip episode where we get to see a different side to Max. 9, Baby One More Rhyme, the hip hop musical based episode. The Lunch Club, where Ali Fernandez, who's one of the main characters of Upside Down Magic, appears as the leader of the fencing team. Choli, and Slurping. I mentioned Slurping with the Enemy. What's My Grade Again? One of the worst episodes I saw. This was also one of the earliest episodes I saw, but I didn't list it because it was one of the worst. And that was, of course, Bummer Reynolds. This episode right here. There were two noticeable things about this episode. One, the guy in this episode is Tessa's boyfriend in love interest in Raven's home, and he's one of the main characters of Upside Down Magic. He first appeared here and in Raven's home. The second thing that was noticeable is the lake house featured in this episode is also in the lake house featured in Cooper and Cammy, Would You Rather Rip Your Pants, which Cooper and Cammy had the better lake house episode, but this shows those two shows could be in the same universe. Another reason I don't want Cooper and Cammy Ask the World canceled. So yeah, then you got I mentioned the other 3 episodes. Then you got Rock the Float, which is one of the worst episodes, one of the worst and weakest episodes, but it's an episode I watched and saw. One of the last episodes I watched and saw of my dog, who would pass away the 2 weeks after this episode. Then one of the best episodes, this will be playing in the background. This is the highest rated episode, The Big Rozowski. The Big Rozowski. And
I can't believe we're in the bro zone.
and
What's that smell?
and
My bros.
oh
They
yeah.
would freak if they
What
saw
was
us
the
in
other?
here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Rock.
so
Oh
let's
yeah.
just find my
Oh
phone.
yeah. When
When
Sydney
they hide
meets
it
Harry,
from me,
another
they
good
usually
episode.
put it under
Grandma
something gross.
with Sydney meets
So
Harry.
it
My
could be
dog,
anywhere.
he passed away on the day later on the night of this episode. Later that night on the day of this episode. This is the last episode I watched with him,
Where
my
are
dog.
Sebastian?
Then
They got detention for trying
then
to
the
push
next
the
episode,
car into
Grandma
a
G,
period.
which was a good episode to
While he
briefly
was
take
in
my
it.
mind off of my dog passing. And then,
I still don't
last but
understand why
not
they won't let
least,
you in here.
the
Because there's 4 of them and I'm
probably
the
the
only girl?
greatest episode
They
of
exclude
season
me
2,
from everything.
13 Candles,
Oh,
where we
wait.
get to see
Except
young
for getting picked on.
Alicia, Sydney's deceased mom, in the past, and learn that
Whoa, nice
she's
TV.
Leo's cousin. Max's future wife is Leo's cousin. So that right there
What's that?
goes to show you
Alley fighters
that right
20?
there, and that right there goes to show you. So yeah, season 2 was vast improvement over season 1. More mature topics and just a better overall story, story arc. And the actors, actresses are way older, way more mature in this season. As such, the acting and writing here is much better than it was in season 1. Like I said, I love Night at the Museum. This is the
What are
episode
you
where
doing
Sydney
here?
gets grounded
You're supposed
for
to be in
failing
attention.
curfew
Did you let us
multiple
go early?
times.
He said he
Sydney
was
is
sick of
grounded
us.
for failing curfew multiple times. Love the A
Well,
plot.
all of,
Sydney,
you know,
I hated
I don't think
how
sneaking into the
in the
bro
phone episode,
check.
she pretty much
Put your mattress
blackmailed
on
her
the
way
line.
into getting her
Okay, just
phone
don't do
back
while I'm sleeping on
when
it.
she
Last time I woke
blackmailed.
up,
So I
we
like
were
how in
making
this
a mess.
episode, and I hate the way she
In
treats Max.
my
I wish I
bed.
had a dad like Max. My dad ain't
I hear
bad.
talking,
My dad ain't bad
I
by
don't
any
see
means.
one.
Far from it, actually. But we don't get along, and he can
Wait,
be
Alvin,
arrogant and
you
unsupportive,
can't
which
like
we don't
this.
get along. But I
You
wish I
were
had
meant
a
to be in here.
dad
It's
like
your
Max,
fault
who is
too.
always there for
You're right.
Sydney and
I
supports,
haven't taken your stuff for
always there
years,
for Sydney and
and I'm
supports
not
her no
taking
matter
it
whatever
anymore.
she does. Same with
Well,
Grandma Judy.
What are you
Same
gonna
with
do
Grandma
about it?
What are we gonna
Judy.
do
So I'm
about
finally
it?
happy to see Max finally
What
put his
are we
foot
gonna do
down
about
because
it?
Grandma Judy and
What are we gonna do about
Sid
it?
walk all over him. Glad Sid finally put his
Okay,
foot
I'll
down
tell
and
you.
ground Sid,
Why don't we
and he
play you guys
refused to let her go to the pop-up museum.
If we
Sid
win, the bro
tries
is
many
ours.
times to get out of her punishment,
No way
but
we're playing
Angela
with you.
convinces
Hold on,
Max
Rusty.
to be
Hold on.
strong and stay strong with Sid's punishment. So
play
she never,
If we win,
so she
you guys can
so she
go for a
learns to
year.
respect the rules.
For a
Then
year?
episode
You're on.
6.
How about a week from today?
Then
It's a
episode
deal.
episode
going
6.
down.
Girls
No, you're
to
going
oh
down.
before I get to
Get
episode
ready
6,
for the
the
bro
B
zone
plot
to come
with
to
Max
ozone.
trying to blackmail his mom to
Right,
get
Olive?
ungrounded and get free stuff and
Yeah,
get free stuff.
like
I didn't like that plot either. And I didn't like his mom
Okay, let's
teaching
go
Max to
before they
lie
kick
for
us
his boss when she skipped work, which was wrong. Then lying about skipping work, which was wrong, and then getting Max to lie. But it was all resolved in the end. But I hated that plot. I hated the B plot of that. But the A plot was awesome. Then you got Girls to Women, which was an awesome episode. You have the A plot, which focuses on Sid getting her period during recital. Then you have the B plot, which was even better and funnier, when Max loses underwear at school, and his bully Jimmy Mason takes him from him and forces him to get off his skateboard, or he'll flash his tidy whities to the group. Leo, Max, and his mom come up with a plan. That was actually Judy's plan. Come up with a plan to switch out Max's
With my
underwear
eyes closed.
with a fake, with another pair of underwear with Jimmy Mason's name on it. Jimmy Mason didn't see the switch, and he flashes the underwear with his name on it. And then this leads to a funny moment where Leo says, "Dude, why are you waving around your underwear?" And Jimmy Mason flees the scene in embarrassment. Flees the scene in embarrassment.
Silly?
What
Do
happens
you know how hard
next?
it was to get to
9.
the top of the
Oh
leaderboard?
yeah, then episode
Besides, what do
7.
you know about driving?
Mrs. Harris
Max,
approves
I give
field
driving
trip.
tests for a
This is
living.
the episode where we get to see a
Sorry,
different
can't
side to
remember
Max,
every
where
little detail
Max
of
and
your
Leo go with Mrs. Harris, the art
And
teacher,
if you
on a
think it's
field
so
trip to
easy,
the art
why don't you
museum.
race me?
And one of the
I just
paintings
spent 8
looks
hours
like
next to
one.
horrible drivers.
Grandma Judy
What's the
ruins
next
the
couple
field
minutes?
trip when she says one of the paintings looks like a butt, and it causes everyone except Max to laugh. The museum curator tells Mrs. Harris to lure her students they have to leave. They refuse, so they all leave. And Mrs. Harris says one funny line. She says, "I'm disappointed. You guys were more interested in butts." Butts! And then everybody laughs, and Max tries to apologize on behalf of the class, himself, and his mother. I like this episode, and Jackson Dollinger, who portrays Max, liked it too, because we get to see a different side of Max. Max is usually the one clowning around, but this time he was into the art stuff, and his mom, much to my surprise, ruined it. In the A plot, Sydney and Olive convince Mrs. Harris to let them go off on their own, and they accidentally destroy one of the art museums and gets the school permanently banned from the art museum forever. Miss Ronnie turns out if Mrs. Harris had anything to do with it, she would lose her job. Sydney and Olive, in order to save Mrs. Harris' job, lied for Mrs. Harris, and at first Mrs. Harris goes along with it, but then she later, during a poem, reveals that she gave him permission and prepares to take full punishment. Vice Principal Romani plans to fire her, but one of the kids from Max's childhood, Pete, is heavily influenced by Mrs. Harris, who reveals his secret identity of as Ramsey and saves Mrs. Harris' job by telling Vice Principal Romani how much Mrs. Harris had a huge influence on him, and the episode ends on a happy note, on a quote unquote happy note. The next episode,
In here, I'm Maria. I'm
the
below
lunch club,
pressure 16.
where Sydney.
The first
We
16
meet
bone pressures have been
Sydney's fencing team, who's a different set of members from the
Why didn't you
second
tell me you were a
episode of this
gamer?
series
I didn't want to
of this
distract you from
season.
your studies. It sure distracts me.
These
One night, I stayed
these
up so
members
late,
are better
I
than
slept
the
through an
ones from
entire
this
sociology
the
class.
season 2
And I don't
episode.
take sociology.
Like I said, they're led by Choli, portrayed by Ali Fernandez, who would later become the main character of what's that? Of Upside Down Magic, and her Indian
anything you can
friend
teach us to
Dylan,
beat
who
all
called
his
herself
brothers?
Doc
They
because
don't
she
even
fell off
try
a
to play
dock,
that
and
role
likes
as
giving
King
people
Kong is
nicknames,
too,
including giving her
Hey,
name
I'm a pro
Cinderella.
at Alley Fighters
Bunch of
fighting.
funny
Your
moments in
brothers
this
will never
episode.
know what hit them.
Sydney tries to hang out with her new bonds with and tries to hang out with her new fencing friends, but
Okay,
doesn't
call
want
me
to
up, girls. Maybe
ditch
it's
her old friends who she made plans with. So she tries to hang out by eating at both tables where several comedy moments happen. Sydney reveals that she can't hang out with both teams, so she decides.
Find her next to a creepy mannequin.
She
which I pushed
decides.
aside.
She decides. What does she decide? What does she decide?
Thanks, Dad. No pressure.
What does she decide?
Going up
man?
to Grandma's room
What does
again?
she decide?
You know, I've been
What
spending
does
a
she
lot of time up
decide?
there
Oh
with
yeah,
you.
she decides to quit the
we're just doing
fencing
girl
team,
things, no
but
Manny's petty,
Jolie
fighting
saves
for
her
equal pay, yada,
saves
yada.
her spot on the fencing team when she says when she joined the fencing team she lost her old friends too, but those weren't real friends. Sydney's friends remind her they're real friends and they'll be with her until the end, and the episode ends on a happy note. There was a B plot, but it really wasn't all that interesting. It really wasn't all that interesting. So I'm not gonna really talk about it here. Then you have the next one, Slurping with the Enemy. Slurping with the Enemy. This is another great episode where
I'm the only one who's over 13.
in the present, Sydney, there's a rival smoothie shop. Sydney goes there and she tastes one of the samples. She tastes one of the samples and has to keep it from
Let's see how you
has
do
to keep
against
it from
the
Max, 'cause that's technically being disloyal. But it turns out someone videotaped her without her knowing, and later plays the video when one of the customers comes in and recognizes her. So then she has to make it up to Max. Grandma Judy saves the day by letting Max taste the drink, and Max forgives Sydney, and together they come up with a brand new drink, and Max also says that commercial is coming down because Sydney was videotaped without her knowledge, was being recorded without her knowledge, and then in the B plot, Leo's dad, their boss at the local arcade, sends them on a mission to infiltrate a new laser tag place to see if it's a good investment. They worry that the place could is so good it can put them out of business that they lie and say the place was terrible. The place was terrible. But they go there and have fun anywhere where Max's mother and Leo's dad busts them, and Leo's dad reveals he was sitting there to see if it was a good investment, and they say now that it was good, he just has to buy the place now. He has to buy the place now. And the episode ends on a friendly game of tag with Leo's dad saying, "You guys never have to protect me," and that's how that episode is. Another great episode.
You just need to get your confidence back within
Another
you.
great episode. What was the next episode? What was the next episode?
You
Sydney
stink
to
at
the
that
max.
game, right?
What was the next
Sure do.
episode?
This race is on me.
Next episode. Oh yeah, my best friend. Oh man, what's my grade again? Which focuses on ADHD disorders. I definitely relate to this one because I got that where Emmy is in danger of failing the 7th grade because she refused. Failing the 7th grade because she refused to turn in a bunch of assignments. They find all of her assignments in her dirty room and give them back to Mr. Tanaka. He gives her full credit, but it's not enough to pass her. She has to get a B on the final in order to pass and go to 8th grade. Emmy worries because she has problems focusing and studying, and throughout the time that they all study, but she has a hard time focusing. It's not until Sydney, quote unquote Olive. It's not until Sydney and Olive convince her. It's not until Sydney and Olive come up with a game show to make studying more fun, where she gets the information she needs, and also reveals she has an ADHD disorder, and reveals to Mr. Tanaka that she needs more time on her test, and she aces it, and they all go to 8th grade. In the B plot, Max is angry that he has that he has the label of Space Cadet, wants class clown, but loses it to Bucky, which leads to this running Bucky joke. Which leads to when Bucky does something better than someone or beats somebody or someone, everyone says Bucky, he's the ultimate joke character. So they say Bucky.
Every time I turn it on.
Bucky? Yeah,
I do
Bucky.
turn it on.
They do that. That's a running thing.
Yeah, we all
That's a
wear
running
heads
thing. But
down.
then his mom convinces him that Space Cadet, which is because Max Spaces Out is actually not a bad label, and it's Max should be more proud of it that he got a label at all. So that's
Olive never told me
that's that.
anything.
Then you have my best friends in there, Sophia and Emmy break
Well,
off their friendship after they lied to
I
each
found
other.
my
It's up
sweater.
to
Gotta go.
Sydney and Olive to save their friendship. In the past, Max and Leo do the same thing where they fight over a
You're home early from the arcade?
crappy
First.
crappy
I wanna get
parody
the
of
jump on my homework.
Jordan's called
Max,
Sky
you're scaring me.
Johnson's,
What's
which
wrong?
Max's damages and steals and accidentally
Nothing.
ruins in a microwave. But they all reconcile their friendships in the end. This was the first episode. This, along with the grade and the Slurpee, were the first
Hey, Leo.
episodes I
Max is
saw.
upstairs.
Then
I'm actually here to
next
see you,
is
Miss
we
Rose.
got the
Ever since you beat Max,
we
he's been
got
really
the
down on himself.
What?
I already
Because he
mentioned the
lost in
Bone
that
Reynolds
ridiculous
episode.
game?
We got the
It
Rock
may be
the Float
ridiculous to
episode.
you,
This
but
episode
he
really
loves
wasn't
you
that
more
good,
than
so I'm not gonna really talk
Really?
about it. Then we got the Big Razowski,
course,
one of the best
you know,
episodes ever.
skateboarding.
One of the best
Oh, and
episodes in the series. I love the Big
He's a
Razowski,
big fan.
where we see where we
Wow.
finally get to meet
On
two
the
of
list of
Olive's
things he loves
brothers,
the most,
who
I'm
we kept
third.
hearing stories about
Believe it or
throughout
not,
the
I'm
series.
touched.
The first one is Josh, and the other one is
He worked so
Rusty.
hard
We
for
get to
that
meet two of them. There are actually
Once he
four.
got
We
it,
get to
he
meet two of
walked a
them.
little taller, stood a little
And the
straighter,
episode starts off
insisted
with Olive and
people bow
Sydney
to him.
sneaking into the bro zone, their
This
room,
makes
which is the
bad, but
garage.
still.
The garage, while the brothers were at detention
I
for
had
turning
no
the principal's
idea it
car
meant
into
that
an
much to him.
aquarium
So what are we
while
gonna
he
do?
was in
Try to
it.
help him get his mojo
While he
back.
was in it. They get
think
distracted
frozen
by a
fish sticks will
friendly
cut it?
video game
Not if you wanna stay in the top three.
called Alley Fighters. The brothers catch him there and say, "What are the
Hey,
buttheads doing in the
Hello,
bro
baby.
zone?"
You ready to get your diaper
Olive
changed?
asks, "What are they doing
With
here?" And I
my
told you
foot.
why. They said the teacher got sick of them and sent them home early.
Huh? Oh, I was just
So
working
then,
on my trash
so
talk.
then, because
So I
Ollie
don't know
snuck
where
in,
what's
Olive
in
and
it.
her
The
friend
diaper
snuck
wasn't
in, they put a
unweird.
mattress on the line. They put a mattress on the
Come on,
line
let's go
with
practice.
Olive
Wait, I
hilariously
need to talk
says,
to you.
"Okay, as long as
I
it's
happened to talk to your brother.
as long as
Why?
it's something,
When?
because as
Where?
long as there's
I'm
no
sorry,
birds
they
there,
should
because
really
a
be kept in a
bird
cage.
made a nest while I was sleeping in my hair, or something like
Because
that,
if we take the bros
something
off,
like
they'll
that,
have nothing.
something
Oh,
like
no.
that." And then
They got inside your head. Out, fart bags, out, out.
and next was
I'm serious. So
Olive
am
and
I.
Sydney.
This
Next
is my
was
chance. Finally get
next
even with
Sydney
them.
convinced
For all
Olive to
these
stand
minutes,
up to her
including
brothers,
everything.
and they come with a
The
little
only reason
wager.
you do
Sydney and
this
Olive
is
beat them in a
I
game of
think
Valley
you
Fighters.
What
They
do I know? I'm an
Olive
only
gets the
child.
bro
This is
zone,
something I had
but
to
if the
discipline
brothers
in.
win, they gotta
You're
clean the
irritating.
bro zone for a year, or
There's
something
not
like
a lot of
that.
conflict.
Something like that. So Sydney and Olive first seek
You
out
were right.
Max.
You finally gave me the guts to
Max's
stand
old
up for
Sega
myself.
Genesis console
Thank you.
is is
Now let's go practice.
is
I've
broken.
got some
It
love ones
starts,
for
then
the
it
boys.
immediately goes off. Then he tries to turn it on later. There's a language. There's a language problem. Then he tries to turn it on later. It catches on fire. So they seek out Grandma Judy, who has a secret
Thanks, Dad.
who has a secret TV cabinet with Alley Fighters on it. She teaches them not only how to play the game, but also how to trash talk and psych out their opponents. And they beat and upset Grandma Judy. In the
Olive
past,
wants revenge so
Grandma
badly,
Judy
she
is
doesn't
mad.
get that if she takes the
Grandma
bros
Judy
off
is
the
mad that
brothers,
Max continues
the
coming home
relationship
late,
will get even
coming home
worse.
late from work, coming home late from work. It turns out Max is spending extra time at the arcade, beating people in stupid video games. So they trash talking Max, and they trash talk and they settle it in a game of
They
video
wouldn't even
games
be in
where
the same
Grandma
room
Judy
together,
upsets
except
and
for this
defeats
Max.
Max. And Max goes into a funk so bad that he loses to
Oh,
Bucky, who Bucky didn't even know what car he was driving. And then Max says the hilarious thing, "Lee, I lost my touch. Mom and Bucky." That happens again. Then later, so Leo and Judy come.
Let's see. Challenge him to a race and lose? Yeah, I think I got it.
Leo and Judy come up with a plan.
What are you
To
doing?
restore
Defending
Max's
my
mojo
title.
by throwing a racing video game, which first
Let's do this.
which first Judy says, just like you heard in the background,
Here for a
says,
rematch? I heard you got some skills.
who
I
wants
thought
to
I'd give you
race?
a
And
chance.
Bucky says, I do. And
Not
Judy
playing.
once again
What's the
hilariously
matter?
says,
You
not
champion?
you, Bucky. Then Max comes in, and Max and Judy
Yeah.
fights, and Max
Mom,
actually
but
upsets and defeats Judy and regains his title without Judy throwing the fight, to which Judy hilariously replies, I didn't throw the game. If he was good as taking out the trash as he is talking it, we wouldn't have raccoons. Then the next one is the next episode was the next scene. Sydney tries to get back. Oh no, then the next scene ends when Max says, "All right, who wants to challenge me now?" Bucky comes up and says, "I do," and everyone says, "Not you, Bucky."
Excuse me.
Then
I
episode
won
20.
DMV Employee of the Month.
Okay, no, I'm not done yet. Then back in the present day, Sydney, when she forgets her jacket at the bro zone, she wants to get it, but the bro zone people say you are Olive's friend, but no. So you are allowed. So you're not allowed to get your jacket. Sydney tries to reason with them and asks why are they so mean to Olive. And here's where throughout the episode you're rooting for Olive and Sydney because the brothers are dicks for no apparent reason. You later learn the brothers are jealous of Olive because Olive is the only girl, so as such she gets her own bathroom. She gets her own bathroom and her own clothes where they gotta wear hand-me-downs and they gotta share a bathroom, to which the other brother Rusty says yeah, that's 4 bathrooms. That's 4 bathrooms. That's 8 armpits. That's 8 armpits. That's 8 armpits. And it's 8 armpits. Then Sydney tries to say, well, you got this television. That's because we put our allowance together. That's because we put our allowance. That's because they put their allowance together and got it at a garage sale. And the Rusty says, yeah, I get a shock every time I turn it on. Wait a minute, why do I gotta turn it on? You know I gotta turn it on. And then Sydney tries to talk Olive out of there, but Olive hilariously says, "Oh, they got in your head. Get out, fart bags, get out." And then meanwhile Olive goes.
Every night at dinner.
Meanwhile, so they play. Sydney tries to talk Olive out of it, but she actually distracts them, which actually enables them to win. But then Sydney reveals to Olive that she wasn't trying to distract them, and now her relationship is going to get even worse because she took the one thing they love the most from them, and they say, if that's what you really want, that's what you really want, and Olive realizes that's not what she wants, and she calls them back in there, and they make a wager that Olive lets them include the bro zone, but they have to include her in every activity. They agree to do that, and they all settled over a friendly game of alley fighters. Meanwhile, back in the present, Max walks in on Grandma Judy and Sydney playing, and the episode comically ends with each of them playing alley fighters. Like I said, great episode. This is the highest rated episode and the most viewed of season 2. Then you got when Sydney meets Harry, where her old childhood friend Harry comes in, Ram Man, was captain of Max's baseball team, a guy obsessed with football, a guy who used to be obsessed with monster trucks. In order to fit in in England drops the hot dog eating competitions, the monster trucks, and drops baseball in favor of cricket. And has a fancy short suit and an English accent. But Max is determined to bring out the Ram Man, and he eventually does, where the Ram Man reveals why he was acting the way he does. Meanwhile, Sydney develops feelings for her childhood friend Harry, who once again plans to move back, but it turns out they can't move back, but they can't move back to Portland, so they have to move back to England. But Harry and Sydney promise to stay in touch this time. Meanwhile, in the B plot, which was more hilarious, but it had nothing to do with the A plot, Max and Leo get walkie-talkies and go all over the yard and house playing with them, and accidentally hear sound effects from a science fiction show. They think they've come into contact with aliens. But it's the next door neighbors watching a science fiction based show. Awesome plot, but what did it have to do with the main plot?
Standing right there?
You have nowhere else to go.
You have Grandma Judy rocking. This was a good episode. I'm not going to talk that much about the episode.
But it's just
Grandma tries to retire with a famous rock star who appears to be a parody of Gene Simmons, the late Freddie Mercury, and Elvis and Eddie Van Halen. But it turns out, they think he sneaks off on his own. Sydney and Olive think he's sneaking off on his own to be with other women, but he's actually looking to plan for retirement. And since he was planning for retirement, and Judy is not looking to stop or retire. They decide to be friends and go their separate ways. And that was the A plot. The B plot was a little bit more interesting with Max and Leo, with Bucky wanting to host the American Gladiators tournament, but Judy is sick. Judy is sick, so they try to
Guys,
get
leave
Judy
her
better to
alone.
get her
Are
out
you
the house.
kidding?
Judy
You know
comes
how
up
much
to their
I
plan when
miss
she overhears what they doing on the walkie-talkies and says she must be sick. She thought they cared, but they was trying to get her out. Meanwhile, they feel guilty and make it up to her by bringing the concert to her room, and that plot is
Grandma?
there. Like I said, okay,
I've got
it
a
was
killer
okay.
gaming setup. I've known around the
It
world
did
with bone
briefly
crushing
distract
16.
me
I've
from
been
my
keeping it
dog's
from you for 5
passing.
years.
From my dog's passing gave me something to look forward to.
Are you mad?
But
This
the
is
13th
great.
episode
Now we can
13
all
was the
play
best episode. Was the
Max,
best
knowing our
episode
history, I
ever.
don't think that's a
Was
good
the
idea.
best episode
But
ever.
you two are
Episode
fun.
13.
What's the matter? Are you
13
chicken?
Candles was awesome, man. 13 Candles, where
No. But are you a
both
baby?
in the present and past, Max and Sydney are both celebrating their
Bring it on.
birthdays. Both celebrating their birthdays. In the present, Sydney's mom, Alicia, before she died, left Sydney a scavenger hunt. Her and Grandma Judy left Sydney a scavenger hunt that she would solve on her birthday. With Max, Grandma Judy, and Olive, she solved it. Meanwhile, in the B plot, meanwhile, in the B plot, Max is having his birthday party, and he wants an all-guy party because the girls are just making it about themselves. But Leo's forced to break his promise when he brings his cousin Al, because only his mom was promising him a trip to Hawaii. And Alicia immediately steals Max's thunder. Max's thunder by stealing all the attention, and Max goes outside. Alicia sees Max outside all along and pulls a prank, because Leo said Max likes pranks, pulls a prank on him. Max pretends to be angered and outraged by the prank, but reveals he was tricking her. He was pulling her leg and got it. And they both bond, and this is the beginning of Max's relationship. This is the beginning of Max's friendship and later relationship with Alicia Al, who we later learn is Leo's cousin. So Max's late wife in the present was Leo's cousin. And I can't wait to see more of her. And the episode ends with everybody in the present, including Sydney's friends, attending her party, or everyone in the present and in Portland attending her party, and that's how season 2 ends. Season 2 ends on a happy note. What an awesome way to close out season 2. Probably the best episode of the series. I can't wait for season 3, where the characters, in just a short time, just a couple of months, have already gone through puberty. They're old. They look older. Their voices are deeper. Even the adult characters have changed some. Ian Kessler, who portrays adult Max, looks slightly older. So does Caroline Ray, who portrays Grandma Judy. So yeah, I can't wait. And I've seen clips online and read what's gonna be there. What I want to see is more Bucky. I want to see who Bucky is in the present. We've seen adult Leo. We've seen Pete. Who is Bucky in the present? I also want to see more Harry, who will be in episodes. I want to see more Alicia. I also want to see more of Sydney's lunch club buddies, and more adult Leo. So yeah, man, I can't wait. It's gonna be in '93. What's '93 gonna be like? So man, like I said, man, Sing to the Max, one of the best sitcoms ever. So happy I finally got to complete this review right here. It was fun watching most of these episodes again. I can't wait to do it again for the video commentary review. Well, this was Sydney to the Max. You don't want to hear the rest of the music? Turn the video off right now.